Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today, I am very, very excited because I have an amazing guest. This is somebody I met online, and he's been a part of a whole bunch of groups that I'm part of. And every time I see him, he is the epitome of active listening. I never hear him speak, but he's moving around, he's yelling, he's shouting. I could tell because he's very animatic, but he's absolutely amazing, and I just couldn't wait to have him on my show. He has a great history of success. He's a producer, a musician. Are you a magician? Maybe. He's a veteran. He's a host, a filmmaker, an editor, a program director. But throughout all those successes, he's also lost it all, not just once, but twice, became homeless, but used his power of his mind to get him all the way back up to success again. Today, he helps lots of companies, brands, people sound and look absolutely amazing online and help them build relationships, become better, build credibility, and build their businesses. He's a speaker, a learning experience designer, a multimedia specialist. So please welcome Doc REO, MAREO AHMIR LAWSON.
Hey, thank you. And thank you for saying my name. A lot of people don't, and I appreciate that. I do like to share my name. A lot of people just call me Doc, but thank you for really saying my name out, and you said it perfectly. So thank you.
Yes, score for me. Well, first of all, thank you very much for your time and being here. I know there's a lot of stuff we could talk about. Just before we record this, wow. We were going on and on, so it's actually amazing. It's like I've known you for a long time already. I couldn't wait to get you on here because I know you have a lot of great tips, you have a lot of docisms to share as well. So first of all, how did you get to where you are today? I know you help people with their brands, their companies, and sounding better, looking better, but you didn't start off there. And I know you have a lot of ups and downs. If you could please give us a kind of a Cole's notes or highlights as to how you got to where you are today.
Well, just to highlight it, I kind of just grew up where I am today. It's interesting because my mother was this woman who was unsure about where she wanted to be in life. She was finding her own identity as a lesbian woman. I just want to say that. And I think she was unsure when she had me what she wanted to do. She put me in the school while she was going to USC. She put me in this school right across the street from USC that just so happened to start a magnet school. And it was a magnet school for performing and visual arts. And that's how I ended up in performing and visual arts. And everything along the way just kind of became part of my life. And, it's funny because after that, doing years in performing and visual arts and music, mostly music and entertainment, I went into the military. So I added to that ability of being active in communication and active in leadership. And so all these things kind of culminated to me taking music and writing docisms, or taking music and writing statements, not just for other people to hear, because it wasn't really at first for people to hear. I was doing it for myself, to motivate myself, to remind myself of my path. And it's just interesting hearing it from another end, hearing somebody ask me that question. I'm blown away, So I'm more blown away at the fact of, wow, docisms. I didn't think people paid attention to them as much. And more and more I'm hearing that, the statements I use to motivate myself, the 3 fingers I use to point back at myself, are also pushing that 1 finger out at other people, and they're understanding it and feeling it and giving me feedback. So yeah, it's getting to this journey has been pleasing. It's been a warning, it's one of those times when, like you said, I lost it all and I came back from losing it all. And now I feel great because I'm actually touching people and helping people, something I wasn't doing when I was in entertainment before. I may have been doing it with the product, but not with my service.
There's lots of people out there who are either struggling to change their mindset, struggling to face whatever challenge they have. You're somebody who's overcome it twice. right? You've been homeless before. I've heard some stories from other successful people where there was that one moment where they were about to give it all up. They don't know where else to go. And then there was one person who walked by and gave them that quarter. And at the same time, they looked up and saw this helpline and they decided to make that call and change their lives. Was there something that kind of stands out to you as to how you went, you know what, I need to do something different to get myself out of this?
I'm going to say the first time I went homeless, I didn't know any better. I was a child and my mother fell into addiction to crack cocaine. And so in that time that I went, I say that's my first time, but there was about 3 times in there because I was a child. I ended up in the system and then ended up in foster care and then ran away from foster care. You know, so in those little times I was learning that I could survive without having other people. And I got emancipated at 17. It was after that and being in the military that I actually ended up homeless. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what it's like. And that time, I think recovering from that one was more me just pushing because I wanted to figure out a way to not have to beg for money or not have to ask for money or just figuring out how to find myself after the military because I didn't have financial intelligence at all. I didn't really start gaining financial intelligence until after the second time I was homeless. Mm-hmm. Go figure. Now, the second time I was homeless is because I actually had money. I gave up on life. And I think it's because I got to a point in life. People all the time talk about, hey, I want to get to this dream. Hey, I want to get to this dream. And I finally realized, I think, that I had made my dreams. It was 2009. I had actually reached my dreams and looked back throughout my life and realized, wow, I made most of my dreams. It just wasn't the way I wanted them to be. And I'm like, well, if this is it with my, with everything, if this is all I'm going to receive, I'm a producer, I'm where I want to be. I just don't like my life. And even though I was making great money, I just didn't like my life. And I just gave up on everything and started partying. And so the transition for that one wasn't necessarily a one thing. It was more of me waking up and saying, what the heck am I doing? Waking up on the curb of Skid Row and going, why am I on Skid? I don't need to be here. I've already lived a life where I lost everything when I didn't have anything in the first case. I didn't need to lose everything to realize that I can do more in my community. And that's what it was. I wasn't giving back. And so when I realized that there's so many people out there giving back to people on Skid Row and people on Skid Row not appreciating it, and I was appreciating every moment of it, then why can't I do the same? And even without the appreciation, why can't I give back to my community and appreciate it myself? I don't need people to know that I'm giving back. And so it's interesting that when JT talks about how, we donate not to get attention. The one time I did donate and got some attention was on an auction on Clubhouse, and I didn't feel right about it. I really didn't. And before that, I'm always donating anonymously to places. Even when the Tycoon X, I didn't have much to give, but I donated anonymously. It's just something I do, to kind of, and I mentioned that. Now I don't feel right about mentioning that I donated for that. You see what I mean? So it's like this process is something that I do just because I want to give to other people who didn't have the opportunities that I actually accidentally fell into. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and all of a sudden I ended up in a performing arts school. I wasn't supposed to, in my eyes, I wasn't supposed to live past 21. I survived because I've had privilege when I was underprivileged. And it's odd. However, I've learned that part of it is positive energy. Consistently having positive energy and consistently being persistent at what I want to do. So I don't know if I answered your question.
So you're talking about that positive energy. How does one harness that positive energy when everything else seems like it's not ever going to happen?
I want to say I don't know if I actually have an answer for that. And,
what was that,
and the reason why
one action that you did that got you out?
Well, I mean, I can say the answer that I would say, but in all honesty, I say I don't have an answer because I realize that positivity is a characteristic that I've always had. I look at the strength finder, you know, and I look at my top 5 strengths, and it's one of my top 5 strengths. Now, on the other end, I use a lot of tools. Like I have an alert on my phone that says stay positive. And it's a song that I wrote that says stay positive. And it's all kind of crazy, but it's funny. So at the end of me listening to the song, when I have the alert, I play the song and I listen to the song, I'm laughing. So no matter what's going on, something is making me smile. And then it has kind of been I want to say a reflex or a go-to for me to smile at a lot of things, because I've been in a lot of situations where if you didn't smile, you weren't going to make it through it. And not that I learned how to smile, I just did it as a reflex. And then things changed around me. And so it became a habit. It became a good habit. And I think when I noticed that it became a good habit, I started to use it. So I think one of the things that we need to really pay attention to ourselves is, how do we feel when we smile? How does it change us? You know, first, not anybody else, not thinking outside. And that was the first thing. When I smiled, I started to change the way I felt about the situation. And then what happens when you smile to other people? You actually get that reciprocated back. It's so weird. I go down the street, walking down the street in LA, and I remember when I was young in LA, we'd walk down the street and you say hi to somebody, or not even really say hi. You just look up and smile to somebody, and it was a hi, and it was a connection back and forth. Nowadays, people have their earphones in, you know, they're not paying attention. They're on their phones, and you do that, people don't really connect. And that was one of the things I was missing. So when I came back from being in the military and I noticed how people weren't connecting, I really, really forced this thing about every time I saw somebody, I smile at them. And I think that was one of the driving forces that helped me get up off the curb and helped me push to go back and go to school and really, no matter what's going on in my life, if I smile, I'll feel better about it. If I smile, I may go out there and achieve more. If I smile, I'm going to, for that time being, forget about the pain and the agony and start to think about how I can make my life better.
It's funny how you mentioned just smile, because it's such a simple thing. And just saying hi is such a simple thing that people could do all the time. It reminds me of a story where my wife and I were going for a walk, and right across the street, there was somebody else. And I noticed my wife go like this, and the guy waved back. I'm like, oh, interesting. We walked past, and I'm like, did you know who that was? She goes like, nope, I was adjusting my hat. And that person thought she was waving. And then he goes, hey, I'm like, oh, okay, that works.
We feel good when people connect with us. And sometimes we're just like, oh, that person don't want to connect with us. But I forget that too. And like, thinking about JT, I was like, oh yeah, I'm sitting off his stage on Clubhouse. He won't want to connect with me, even though he's inviting us to come in and go to these, these free coaching sessions. It took me like a month listening to him to go, okay, I'm just going to try it. Because why would he waste his time on somebody like me? He doesn't know me. He doesn't even know my history. You know, I'm not doing what I used to do, you know, but yet and still that little wave, me spending time and him seeing my face is like that little wave, me saying hi all the time. And he's like, he's happy to see somebody say hi back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, on Clubhouse, they can't see you move around, right?
But they can sort of see you every time you're there.
An engaging person, so.
Yeah. But they can see you there all the time. You know, and that's just as engaging, I think, because if you see somebody consistently there and they're not raising their hand to get on stage and they're just listening and listening and listening, they're there for a reason. They're there because of the connection, you know, and yeah, we all need some place to connect. And a lot of people want to do it by themselves, but we can't do anything. I mean, we can do things by ourselves, but we don't really move the needle forward in society by ourselves.
Well, one of those things that we were mentioning was that it was getting noticed. And I'm sure a lot of people right now can notice that you're a person who gets a lot of notice. You're very, very confident. You have this aura of power with you. And the thing is, you help a lot of people get noticed. Help a lot of people sound better, look better. Why is that something that people need?
Wow. That's a big one. And it, for me, it's because it starts with filmmaking. When I was learning how to make films and started going to USC, but didn't really go the first time, and jumped into film and television, the one major thing they would always remind us is, don't forget about the sound. Don't forget about the audio. And one time I did a production and we totally forgot about it throughout the whole production. And the film was great. It was a short film that was really good, except throughout the film, all you heard was this crackling sound, and it just detracted. It took away from the film, and it made it not usable, or to that point of where the people who would really have looked at it didn't want to watch it completely. Mm-hmm. And therefore it didn't allow us to grow or sell the product the way we wanted to, or move the needle forward on creating the entire film. And so I learned from that we need to pay attention to sound more than anything else, more than the video. You can have crappy video, but if you have great sound, they're going to keep watching, because we're weird, like the radio. People don't have to see the radio to hear what's going on. And as a broadcast journalist, radio show host, it became something that I started to really, really get into, like your background. You know, that's something I saw every day for 5-6 years straight. You know, go in the studio, flip the light on, you know, on the other side of the booth, there's people doing their interviews and I'm engineering. Or I'd have somebody on the other booth and I'm interviewing them, because I was a program director and a host. And when I wasn't, you know, program directing, I was in the booth with somebody. And so it's this natural progression of hearing my voice on the air. And then I hate my voice. I'll just be honest. I hate my voice. But when I hear it on the air, when I hear it through a microphone, it's so much sweeter. And if I felt that way about my voice, then I'm sure there are a lot of people who feel like they don't like the sound of their voice. They don't like the sound of the things that they're doing. But when they sweeten it, they attract more people. And that's what I noticed. I was like, wow, I'm able to attract more attention. So I'm out here helping people, because I think we don't understand that until it's what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. Right. And once you show somebody, hey, you can just do these. It's not even the microphone. It's the inflections in our voice, how we use spacing, how we look at what we're saying and listen to what somebody's giving us, so that we can speak back with them with an informed or a wider range of understanding about what they're saying. And it's a lot of speech to me. It's a lot about learning about speaking and learning about listening. And that's what I want to share with other people, because it's not, you could have the worst vocabulary in the world. It's not about your vocabulary per se. It's about how you connect with others.
It's also about confidence and also how you present yourself. Yes. It's funny because I have lots of people who come up to me and goes, I can't do speaking. I can't do this because of my accent, or because I'm from another country. My English isn't very good. I used to work with a bunch of engineers back in the day, and engineers don't speak very well. On top of that, they're either from China or from a different company or something, a country or something like that, but they're passionate and they get their confident, right? So they'll still get it across, and it doesn't matter if you have an accent, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to
that's another thing on that. See, I love that part, because I always tell people, you know, it's not even the accent. It's not even that part. As long as you get past, every time I get past the accent part with people, you actually get that passion from them.
Mhm.
And so that passion is the power that each and every person has. And I tell people that once that passion starts to ignite, that confidence ignites, and then the self-efficacy ignites. So it's not even about their confidence at all. It's about getting past that imposter syndrome part that, oh, I can't speak. Well, I understand you. And once they get that I understand them, all of a sudden they're confident. It's like, so that's why I don't mention it in the training, because I think we all talk about the confidence, but the confidence comes naturally.
Yeah, it was funny because there was one from China with a heavy Chinese accent, one from Russia with a very Russian accent, and another one from India with a very big Indian accent.
Oh, wow.
All three of them were very confident, was very passionate. I have no idea what they're all saying. I was very engaged.
You're engaged in their energy.
Exactly.
They could be talking about, it's funny. This woman told me, I can listen to you talk about paint peeling off the walls. I was like, wow. That's when I realized how powerful it is. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you said, you didn't understand what they were saying, but you were engaged. You know, it's like,
right now, because of all the lockdowns and everything's going on Zoom and online and whatnot, it's very important to look good and also sound good because everything's online. What would you say is some of the biggest no-nos that you've been finding when you've been talking to people, connecting with people, one in sound and also in video?
Okay, I'm gonna have to do a visual display for the video. All right, give me 1 second. No. That's a big no-no. You see, I love that for Instagram. I love that for social media, but that is a big no-no when it comes to looking good online when you're talking business. So check your backgrounds. That's a look thing. Check your backgrounds, check your dressing. You know, today I'm in my USC gear. So as JT would say, it's not looking so good because you should be in a suit and tie. Sometimes you have to be in certain situations that you do business. Like I'm going to have to be out and about and deal with certain people. So instead of changing clothes consistently, I still have to stop and fix my stutters sometime and sounding good online. But instead of changing clothes consistently, I figured, okay, I should stay in the same look today since I'm going to be in a set of different meetings back to back, and it would be good. But your dress code, how you look, how you present yourself, you know, shaving. The other day, matter of fact, right before this, I did what I needed to do to get them prepared to come in. But I don't know if you noticed, cut my hair. Nice. Presentation, proper presentation is one thing I learned from serving tables. Now, sound-wise, the biggest no-nos are telling people too much. I still have less is more. Let's just say less is more, and spacing. Allowing ourselves to breathe a little bit, because space is just necessary. And when we use space, we can remember that people are waiting for what we're gonna say. Mm-hmm. So
there's a lot of other people out there who look at you and go, well, that's easy for you to say. Look at you, you're energetic, you're always motivated, you're always driven. I get that sometimes saying, hey, Fong, I don't have that energy. I'm not that engaging. I'm a very, very shy person. What's your advice for those who are shy?
I would say that every shy person I've ever met, if I've sat down with them and talked to them just in general, not me, like because of me, but just in general, anybody who sits down and talks with them and gets to know them, they're not shy anymore after you get to know them. So they're only shy because they don't know the people they're presenting in front of. So if they feel like they know the audience, that's one thing that I do. Be honest, I have a big stage. I have stage fright. On the camera, I fear what people think about me on the other end. When I get on stages, when I've played in music, I mean, look, I'm stuttering now, you know, and thinking about it, you know, the idea of it makes me a little nervous, and it's always going to make us nervous. It's never going to go away. We talk about this in the military. Every time you get to the door of a plane to jump out of a plane, no matter how many times you jumped, you're still going to have butterflies in your stomach before you jump. Every time I get on a stage, every time I get in front of a camera, every time I get on a microphone, I have butterflies. Mm-hmm. However, it is that pushing through it. It is that overcoming the fear that makes us successful. JT speaks about this all the time. Francie, even Paulie, everybody talks about how we have to overcome fear in order to move ahead. So it's being comfortable with discomfort. And it's not an easy thing. It's never going to be easy to any of us. Even those of us who do it all the time, it's never easy. We just have practice in doing it all the time. Right. So the more you practice it, the better you get at it. That's my goal, my tip to anyone.
Awesome. Another docism to use. You alluded to it before that you're in classes, you're still learning. For somebody who's already accomplished so much, why?
Well, that was my imposter syndrome, not knowing what I didn't know, thinking that I need to go back to school to get to the next level, when all it took was me being on Clubhouse long enough to realize that I know more than a lot of people on Clubhouse, and I know, which it's not just the Clubhouse part. It's a lot of those people reflect some of the people that I've seen online, some of the people I've seen in business, some of the people I've seen teaching classes in universities that haven't had the experience doing some of these things, but yet they're telling me that this is the way it's supposed to be done. And then I go out in the industry and I'm like, no, this is not the way we do it in the industry. So yesterday I had this conversation on Clubhouse, some Final Cut Pro. We don't really use it anymore in Hollywood. I mean, we do, but not so much. When you have DaVinci Resolve, I'm going technical here. When you have these other devices like Adobe CC Suite, Premiere Pro, you have these tools that people are using, then why are we still sitting back and using old tools? Because we're comfortable using those old tools. We're not getting out of our comfort zone to see where we can get ahead. And so that one part stood out to me, that I have to keep looking for the new and innovative side of myself. And I don't know if I answered your question, but I got lost in the answer just then. So it happens every once in a while.
It's that forever improvement mindset that lots of entrepreneurs have, right? I'm sure that if you talk to any entrepreneur, any business owner, and they're always constantly growing, always constantly finding something new, so to better themselves and to impact more and more people.
Yeah, and that's really why I went back to school. I mean, I wanted to be honest with you. I wanted a good coach, and had I found JT Fox before I went back to school, I might not have gone back to school. However, there is another side to that. Because I'm considered legacy, I had to go back and get a degree at USC. So there's that other thing too, that goal that I wanted to. I wrote it down in everything years ago. I said a story from okay, I'm gonna say it. LA Trojan, Patriot, Corsair first, became a Cub after returning from war, from a bull to a matador, changing the score, popping through ceilings while opening doors. I'm headed back to the fold. Cardinal and gold, USC. So all those things that I said, LA Trojan, I grew up at a school across the street from USC that my mother was going there. So I was a LA Trojan first, a USC Trojan from the beginning. And then I went, when I came out of school and came back, I was a Patriot at Hamilton High, which had the same fight song as USC. So I grew up hearing this fight song, so I've always been a Trojan. And then when I came back to, before I left LA, I went to Santa Monica College, Corsairs. When I came back after military, I went to LACC, Cub, and so I'm naming the mascots of the school. And then I went to Pierce College, which they're all in the same system, but now I'm a bull. And then I went to CSUN, California State University, Northridge, a matador, and changing the score so that I can get back to Cardinal and gold, so I can get back to USC, establish the thing that I'm supposed to be in, that USC network. That is one of the most important things about the University of Southern California. It's the network.
Mhm.
People think, oh, why would I pay this much to go to this school? Because the network is invaluable. And then connect my USC network with my business network and see how we can all grow together. So
very, very cool.
It's like you said, it's growth.
You're a very successful business owner. So if you're looking back at your past, which element or which segment of your life impact the most up towards the success of becoming a business owner or an entrepreneur? Was it the creative side as a musician and as an entertainer? Is it behind the scenes of helping the onstage stuff? Is it the military service time? Or is it the time where you were down in your dumps?
You know, we're sum total of all of our achievements. So I think all of them had a particular part. However, you know, I'm still making that voyage back. I was successful at one point. Like I said, I went to my business partner and told him, teach me how to do business. So I didn't really learn how to be a successful entrepreneur. I learned how to network better. And those were the things. Right now, I'm learning how to become a successful entrepreneur. So I feel like, yeah, I've made success. Yeah, I stand out. Yeah, I still get all this attention and connection. However, I'm not really as successful as I want it to be. And so I think that's the biggest drive, always staying hungry, or like I say, thirsty, because we can go without food for days, but we can't go without water. And if we stay thirsty, we're always needing a new drink. We're always looking for a new drink. And as JT says, we're always looking for new ideas and attempting to implement them. So that's
awesome. Now, throughout this whole journey, you've had lots of mentors, you had lots of coaches, you have lots of people who guide you along. What would you say is the most important advice that you've ever gotten that you could not have gone without?
Wow. Act as if. I think a lot of other places, you know, it still comes back. The most important stuff I've learned, I feel like, is from JT Fox. Mm-hmm. I've learned some other stuff, you know, when it comes to what I want to say. Let me rewind. The most important thing I've learned about business comes from JT Fox. And it's because everything that he keeps showing me has to do with knowing that I'm already there and understanding my knowledge and authority and who I am and who I could be. However, implementing what I am in society. Does that make any sense? And so I think we step back and we're like, oh, I'm in society and yeah, I'm this, but I'm not really going to push for this sale because they don't really want to buy my product. I'm not really going to ask them about this because they don't really want to, you know, connect with me. And we get in all these imposter syndromes. Then we like, well, you know, that's a bad lead. And we start making excuses and then we start turning into the victim and then we start going backwards. And I've done that several times. I think we all have. And then we catch ourselves, those of us who are successful catch ourselves and being, oh, well, I'm becoming a victim. Let me get out of that mode and let me move forward. Because life has a lot of tumbles and stumbles. But when we act as if we're in that next phase, we start to do things like as if we're in that next phase. We forget that we're not. And then it takes me back to anytime I've worked with any musician, artist, Universal, every person I ever interviewed at Universal, you know what they told me? The one thing they told me about success, it's funny, that they didn't know they were successful until they were successful. They did all the work for years. Every single musician was like, I've been doing this for 10 years. And then I became successful. And so it was just I was already still doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. It was a reaction to when opportunity and fortune combined, and action and opportunity. You know, I don't think I can say enough about it. So, you know, as long as we take action, we will get there.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is your secret to harnessing your energy and keeping yourself motivated?
Finding out the right actions to take. Yeah, it's all action, finding out the right knowledge. The secret is the more I know where I need to go.
And my final question, final formal question to you is: you have the world stage at your grasp. Okay, everybody's gonna have 2 minutes to listen to the wise words of you. What is that one message that you want everybody to know Doc REO for?
There is no community without communicating in unity. Everything that we do, that one message goes back to everything we do. It's people, products, and processes. Well, it takes communication for that. And if we don't communicate together, then we're communicating apart. Awesome. So the only way we can build anything, the only way we can grow is to commune in unity, to build a community. Great words to live by. Before I let you go, I got 5 quick questions for you. Just give me the first thing that comes to mind. I love it. This is one thing I like to do too. Number 1, you're stranded on the desert island. You get to choose one food to eat for the rest of your life with no consequence. What would that food be? Wow. That's a tough one. I am so, that's really tough for me because I like variety. So one food, one food to eat with no consequence. It's gonna have to be something spicy. So I'm gonna have to go with like, I'm gonna have to go with a carne asada. Oh no, not a carne asada, a burrito de pollo with salsa verde, every time, because that's the only thing I could think I could eat every time and not get bored. Yeah. All right. You're on a road trip, goes for a long, long way. You're driving, but there's one song that's stuck. I'm gonna have to date in your tape deck that's playing over and over for hours and hours. Normally, I would just ask the person to give me the name of that song, but because I know you're talented, sing a quick line of that song that you don't mind listening to over and over again. Oh my goodness. I get these earworms all the time. So I get a lot of those songs. But the one that's actually sticking my head right now, and it's been in my head all day, the one little bit I know, you can't fool ya, I know. It's a little Bob Marley. It has to do with, a lot of times we tend to try to fool God. And even if you're not religious, if you're trying to fool God, you're fooling yourself. It all boils down to ourselves, because even if you're religious or not, and I have to say this to people who are religious, when you read what religion states about God creating us or the universe creating us, we are a part of it, are a part of God, created from God. Just like the universe, we're all stardust. So we're all connected. We're all atoms. We're all created from the same stuff. So anytime we are trying to say that we can do something that we can't really do without attempting to learn how to do it, or attempting to put pressure ourselves to do it, or attempting to get better at it, then we start to fool ourselves. We're not fooling anybody else but ourselves first. And when we fool ourselves, we're attempting to fool God, but God feels the same, knows already, because it's the same thing. It's like, I don't know. Basically, we can't fool ourselves. So stop trying to fool ourselves. So that's what that song reminds me of. A lot of times we tell ourselves different things, and I see a lot of people telling themselves that they're pros at this and they're not really. And get to be a pro, work at it. If you tell yourself a pro, then dig down and search and put in the time to do it. So great. On this road trip, you get to pick 3 people to come with you. Dead or alive, fictional or real, doesn't matter. What are these 3 characters or people that you would choose? Wow. All right. I'm definitely going to pull from, wow, that's a tough one. I say it's tough because there's a lot of people. I have an imaginary board of counselors. And on that imaginary board of counselors is a nice group of people who who really inspire me in several different ways. But I want to pick two of those people. So I'm looking at this list real quick.
You already have preparation for this question if it ever comes up.
Yeah, I actually do need the preparation for this question. But one of the people, okay, I'm going to say, because I served under him, one of the people is Colin Powell. Dead or alive, I think the information and the knowledge I can gain from his leadership and understanding that when not to be a leader, because I think a lot of people wanted him to be president and he knew that wasn't the best position for him. You know, that's one thing. The other person I would definitely say, and this is strange that I would say this, I want to say Martin Luther King. And actually, I'm debating. See, this is where I debate Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. I want somebody who has struggled with diversity and has pushed forward through diversity, whether it be by any means necessary or by nonviolent means. So even Nelson Mandela. So that one of those three in there. And then of course, JT Fox. The reason why I'm saying JT Fox, you gotta have somebody who's motivating you to try to figure out how to get to the next level, get away from that island. How are we gonna get back? You gotta have a JT Fox for that, you know? So, you know, you can have the protest, the activists, and you can have the military leader, but you gotta have the visionary.
Awesome, well thought out. you covered all the bases right there. But before you go on this trip, they want to get to know you a bit more. So they all show up to your house and they're hungry. So what's that specialty that you can prepare for them as a meal? Oh yeah, now we're talking. We're gonna have a full course meal. We're gonna have a little bit of Italian. We're gonna have a little bit. No, so I mean, yeah, I'm all over the place. I've cooked in a lot of restaurants. In between those jobs and those the military and all that, I've been to a lot of restaurants. So first off, I'm gonna ask everybody what their preference is, because I want to make sure that if we have anybody who's vegetarian, who's vegan, who feels whatever about food, I want to make sure I serve them exactly what they want, so that they're happy on this trip. They're happy on this voyage. You know, I like smiling faces. So, and once I find out, I'm just going to prepare that particular meal. I'm for each of them. They're going to have 3 separate meals. So I'm going to spend the time preparing those 3 separate meals for them, because I want them to enjoy this voyage. And then for me, I'm probably going to make that separate meal, but we're all going to have, hopefully, if they're not vegan, we're all going to have some cheesecake. So I'm going to make some fresh cheesecake for us also. Awesome. And my last question is, what is success like? But before you answer that question, give me a number between 1 to 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So how is success like a pot-belly pig? How is success like a pot-belly pig? Ooh. Wow. You know, I actually owned a pot-belly pig. And when I was in Georgia, my girlfriend at the time, she was from Germany, a German farmer who liked to bite my face. I just can't get over that one. Yeah, she had this thing about biting. But she had a farm. And when I lived with her, we fed the pot-belly pig. And one thing about the pot-belly pig was that it got a lot of love from us, got a lot of care from us, got a lot of attention from us. And it was the only pig on the farm. And so had we not given it that love, it wouldn't have gotten the attention from the outside. And it goes back to success. When we are successful, we are all alone. That person to go, I mean, when we're successful, we start to get, but to get there, you got to be willing to be alone. You got to be willing to do it by yourself. And I don't mean you're going to be successful by yourself, but you're going to be in a place where a lot of people are going to tell you it can't be done. A lot of people are going to hate on you. A lot of people are going to make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about. And
You may not know what you're talking about, but as long as you understand that I'm here, I can do it, I got to do it, I got to push myself and get to that point, you will become that pot-belly pig where people start to give you love and attention, because you had to be alone first. You had to be comfortable with being alone and doing it by yourself before you can do it with other people. And once you're comfortable with that moment of, okay, this is as far as I can take it by myself, now I need to get to that further point. Once you're confident enough to get up, get out and get something, as we say, and take action, you'll start to make success, and you'll start to see that come back to you. And you'll start to eat well. You'll start to eat everything. I don't know if that's good. You start to eat everything. I don't know if that's actually good, but.
Awesome. Wow. Docism's everywhere.
Seriously. And I'm long-winded, so I must, I try to get shorter statements, but whenever I interview, I get longer-winded. Whenever I'm on stages, I'm shorter. So it's weird.
It's all good. Well done. Thank you very much for your time. Is there anything that you still want to share, or what's the best way to reach out to you? I know you got a lot of stuff online, lots of great content, lots of YouTube stuff. Yeah, I'll leave the last words for you.
The best way to reach out to me is to stop by DocReoMedia.com. I have a link tree there. They can reach out to me there. You can stop by DocREO.com. DocREO.com is changing, so I'm just letting people know it's probably going to convert over to what you see with my Sound Great Online. But any social media you connect with me on, you can. If you're going to message me on social media, don't do it on IG. I'm probably there the most, but Instagram is Doc Reo, but I'm pretty much Doc Reo everywhere across the web except for maybe Twitter, which is Doc Reo Rants, or YouTube, which is Doc Reo TV. But you see Doc Reo, hit me up, connect with me, or even call me. If you see my number, give me a call. I'm, or text me. I'm open to connecting with people because it is what I didn't do before, and it's what I like to do. I've always loved connecting with people, so I'm free to connect with people. It might take me a while to get back because I get a lot of messages, but I will get back within that week. Generally speaking, it's that week or 24 hours, mostly 24 hours. So
awesome. Oh, I forgot to ask this question. Where did Doc Reo come from?
Oh, that's a big one. All right. So my name is MAREO AHMIR LAWSON, and it's spelled with an E. MAREO is spelled with R-E-O instead of R-I-O. So for years, people made the mistake of spelling it wrong. So there was a time when, I decided around, skipping a little bit here from the spelling. So let's set the spelling aside. There was a time around when I think it was George W. Bush was in office, I believe, and they were talking about gay marriage, and they wanted to legalize gay marriage in California. So we went through this whole process of federal courts, it went to the Supreme Court, and it was denied in the Supreme Court. But before it was denied, I thought it was going to happen. So I went and I said, okay, I'm going to go get me a doctorate of divinity, go take the test and do all the process. So I studied, did everything I needed to, and got that honorary degree so that I can marry people and open up my own church. So I became an ordained minister and, yada, yada, yada. So didn't use it. I did it just so I can marry people. I didn't do it for the religious aspect. So, well, around the time I started to tell people how to spell my name correctly, R-E-O, people started calling me Rio, like real estate owned. So it was Rio. And then people started joking because they knew I had the doctorate of divinity. So some people started calling me Doc. Other people started calling me Rio. So Doc Rio, back and forth, until I was just like, one day I said Doc Rio on accidentally. I was on YouTube. Matter of fact, you can see my first video on YouTube. I'm in an apartment and people were calling me Doc Rio back and forth. And I jump on, I open the laptop, and I'm catching a guy who's partying, because the hot box was all about partying back then. And he's partying and he's doing his rhyme. He's an artist, and he's doing one of the rhymes we recorded because we had his music out and produced. And as he's saying it, I was like, you've seen it first here on Doc Reo TV. I don't know where that came from, but that's when I actually branded Doc Reo as myself. out in the public eye. But everybody else had already been calling me both of those. So
that is awesome. That's another example of selling it first before you have the idea, right?
I sold it first and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with it? Now it's a trademark. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I had an amazing time talking to you. It was a lot of fun. You have lots of great energy, and I learned a lot. And thank you very much.
And you got great energy too. For you, you were saying earlier about how some people say, how do you, it's easier for you to say because you got, but I mean, I love your energy. I'm glad to have connected with you, and thank you for reaching out, because there's so many people on those pages that I don't get to see every face, and I don't get to get everybody's energy. And I'm definitely glad I connected with you, and I hope to talk with you more in the future and invite you to our Instagram group, of some of us who've connected. We just got this Hollywood Fox Squad, I call it, that we just get together and share links, but every once in a while we talk and connect. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much once again. For everybody else, make sure you connect with Dr. REO here. He has a lot of great stuff. His videos are awesome. Lots of great energy. You're going to learn so much from them. His doc is, write those down because you're going to be learning a lot. Once again, he is Dr. REO, MAREO. My name is Fong. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.